Amidst the controversy trailing the state of emergency declared by President Bola Tinubu in Rivers State, Atiku Abubakar, Nasser El-Rufai, Labour Party, and all other opposition parties across the nation have rejected the state of emergency declaration made by the president. Their position still remains that the president should reverse the state of emergency declared in Rivers State and adopt other measures on resolving the crisis rocking the state.
Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has strongly condemned the state of emergency in Rivers State, leading a group of opposition political figures, including former Governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal, spokesman of the Obedient Movement, Tanko Yunusa, among others. Atiku said the Rivers drama is not about insecurity, but attempts to politically control the state. When asked if the gathering signaled the birth of a new political coalition, he simply said yes.
This action is not only unlawful, but also a clear subversion of democracy and imposition of autocratic federal control over a duly elected state government. We strongly condemn this development and call on all Nigerians of good conscience to resist this brazen assault on the constitution of our country and the institutions of our democracy. This state of emergency declaration is not about security. It is about power grabbing and control in Rivers State. The disagreements within Rivers State stem from the defection of 27 assembly members from the PDP to the APC, their loss of seats under constitutional provisions, and the subsequent political maneuvering to undermine the governor's mandate. Rather than allowing the law to take its course, the federal government has engineered a crisis to justify this obviously premeditated and brazenly cynical and unconstitutional action. We find the federal government excuse of pipeline vandalism quite untenable and even laughable. The security of national infrastructure falls squarely under the responsibilities of federal security agencies and privately contracted security firms. We call on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to immediately revoke this unconstitutional proclamation and reinstate the elected governor, deputy governor, and state assembly of Rivers State. 2, National Assembly reduction. We call on patriotic senators and representatives to vote against this illegal action when it comes before them for approval. The National Assembly must stand on the right side of history and not allow itself to be used to legitimize an unconstitutional power grab. 3, judicial intervention. We urge the judiciary to act swiftly in striking down this proclamation, as it sets a dangerous precedent that could be used to arbitrarily remove any governor in the future.
That is the law. The Supreme Court has spoken. No legislation or constitutional amendment has changed that, so that is the law. No one, no person or authority can remove an elected official, whether governor, deputy governor, or member of the legislature, without going through the due process of law. In the case of governor, via impeachment. In the case of legislators, through recall. Those are the only ways you can remove an elected person. You cannot tamper with the mandate of the people under Section 305 of the Constitution. The Supreme Court has spoken, and it's very, very clear. What President Tinubu has done is violently unconstitutional and unlawful.
Right, let's bring in National Secretary of the Coalition of United Political Parties, Peter Obi. Thank you very much for joining us on Newsnight. Well, that coming together was earlier in the day, where former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, alongside this coalition, called on the National Assembly to live up to expectation and not, you know, give the nod to or approve the state of emergency as declared by President Tinubu? Well, the National Assembly has gone ahead and given its approval. Yep. Where does the coalition stand on that? I mean, how are you reacting to that, you know, nod? And what next?
I think that the National Assembly have missed a very big opportunity to be able to, you know, relate with the Nigerian people and then connect with them on the basis of law and based on the appointment, the reason why they were elected. Because the issue is that their primary function is actually to make laws for good governance and development of the country, and also do oversight function, you know, as it relates to the executive. But what the current situation is that they actually been merged, and they are totally under the control of the executive with what they have done, because there was no, I don't think they ever form a quorum. Because if they form a quorum and they were courageous enough that they have a quorum to be able to take the necessary vote and then defeat the oppositions that are going against the state of the endorsement of the state of emergency by the president, you would have done a transparent process.
Well, but you had members of other political parties there.
Yeah,
PDP,
for me, even for the Senate, there's no way the APC could get the vote. If they say they are not respecting the constitution of Nigeria, definitely they might want to respect the interest of their own party. So you need to give them that, because some people are supposed to play to national interest, and if they say they want to play to party interest, but what about the opposition? The opposition is supposed to also defend the constitution of Nigeria at all costs. You know, because it is in this defense that will protect their own interest. Because if you allow the president to continue to have this kind of power and assault the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, they could wake up one day and declare a state of emergency for the National Assembly.
But that's an interesting view. When you say the National Assembly and you are part of the coalition of united political parties, one wonders, is this not an indictment on opposition political parties themselves? Because the opposition failed to assert itself today.
You see, the National Assembly have become like what Natasha Poti said, like a court ground, you know, where people get punished for taking decisions. And a lot of people, there was a lot of people who didn't even attend the session today, because it is, look at what Obio Agocha did. Look at his request that there should be an held count. Was that allowed? What the speaker allowed? Did the speaker ever give him any free chance to be able to complete his request? No. The thing with the presiding officer, they have forgotten that place is a committee of equals. But they are not acting as if they came differently from being elected as House of Rep member or as Senate president. So they are acting with all those level of impunity that is undermining our democratic process, that is weakening the fabric of our democratic institution. Because you can't have a situation where Section 305 say the president can, you know, bring state of emergency. There's nowhere in that provision that the president can remove an elected person that has been elected to represent either a state constituency, a federal constituency, or a district. President has no such power, and then the National Assembly goes ahead to stamp that, despite the Supreme Court case between Attorney General of Lagos State and that of the Federal Attorney General of Nigeria in 2013.
Well, lest we spend all night talking about, you know, these developments in the National Assembly. You have come together, a coalition. We heard from former Vice President that a new coalition has been birthed. Are you really reading the room correctly in terms of the mood of Nigerians now? Is it the same faces that Nigerians really want to see, or is it not time for a new breed, you know, new...
Repackaging the old?
Yeah, you know, I mean, is it not a case of, you know, a rose by not any other name will still smell like a rose?
There are a lot of young breeds there. I was there. You know, there are a lot of young people I know that were there, people below 50, people above 50. The fact that you can't, in political struggle for power, you can't decide to pick it like a cherry and decide that one should not be part of it, you know, because you have to build all the building blocks together to be able to, you know, defeat the ruling government. And what you are doing, there's no way you lay a path to the future without those who have had some level of experience, you know, shining torchlight for you to see better. What we're doing, what generally the leaders are doing, you understand, is the fact that currently, we are in a mess with our democracy. What we have is not working. What we have, people don't have respect for it. As we speak to you, leaders act with high level of impunity, and also decide that when leaders start to act, looking that the reaction of the people no longer matter, then the country is doomed. Because the leaders are currently acting that whatever the citizens decide is none of their business.
Okay. The last time we saw a coalition that truly succeeded was 2013-2014, and that was the APC that displaced the PDP from power in 2015. Every attempt at a coalition since then has failed. What will make this one different?
No, this will be different because the level of poverty on the street. In fact, what APC...
There was no poverty in Nigeria
No, the level is extreme. It is to the level... Look, people can't even afford 2 square meters today. We're not talking about 3. People can't have the level of inflation that we have. Forget about the rebasing of the economy. We still go to the market. We buy things. We know how difficult it is to for people to fuel their car. Somebody who earn 70,000 today as basic minimum wage cannot be able to have a car and fuel it. It's not possible. You can't even have the current rent cost of living in our country today has gone high.
But that messaging seems not to have changed.
No,
whether it was in the old days before APC took over the reins of power, it was the same messaging. Life is hard,
things are
tough, and all of that. And here we are.
People have seen that there's no governance in this one. Before, I think people can even, put something together and say, this past government have done this. Look at today, you can't even compare the Tinubu regime with the Buhari one. There's no difference. They're the same ball being played at the center of the game. The situation is not the same. What we have today, sincerely, is not the same.
So what philosophy is this new coalition? What is it really bringing? What kind of mindset is it coming with?
I've seen
Nigerians that this will be different.
They are leaders of the coalition. These are the principal leaders and critical leaders of this coalition. I've seen some of them, like Peter, who say that, look, that they will not be part of any coalition that is about power grabbing, like what the APC have done, and Nigeria is in the mess today. Yeah. So that it will be about coalition about the Nigerian people, a coalition that has to deal with the issues, and we go to the electoral, with a free and fair electoral processes that will determine who will govern them. See why our leaders have become so emboldened, and they are actually misbehaving because they felt there's no free and fair election, and the Nigerian people are not even holding them to their promises after election. What we must define that there's a pre, a during, and a post-election phase, and the Nigerians must engage in all of the processes, because active participation of citizens is very key to the survival of democracy. It's not just the critical political leaders that you see, like Atiku, Obi, and Kwankwaso. It's not just that. You need to have citizens engagement, citizens participation, and citizens having interest on how they are governed, because we can't continue to have a government that spends our resources.
I just wanted to ask you very quickly, because when you talk about this narrative hasn't changed, what popped in my mind was the 1993 election slogan by Abiola, and it was just hunger, poverty. So it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. Great. But when you talk about the leaders of this coalition, majority of them, if not all of them, seem to have passed through the PDP at some point or the other. Whether it's Atiku, whether it's El-Rufai, whether it's Peter Obi, whether it's Rotimi Amechi. So, I mean, is this not a rebranding of the PDP?
I don't see it that way. I think it's about personality, it's about competence, it's about merit, it's about capacity. It's about history of people, being in office and what they've done. And I say that the next election will be, people will put it about, those who have momentum to be able to drive the opposition through to victory. You can't just come up and say, North and South. If you do North and South, you are doing the same thing and then we're not getting results. Even if we say we have an unwritten agreement between the North and South, you must also look at people who have momentum. Because you can't just bring anybody to the ballot because you want to be able to contest the election. And then we go back to square zero and then have the same kind ground zero, and they have the same kind of problem that we're trying to solve today.
All right, we'll have to leave it there, because all of this is happening at a time when people are even moving to the the governing party right now. Well, Peter Amaewhule, we'll have to say thank you very much for joining us. He's